So now we've come to the third part of the instructions on generating bodhicitta, loving kindness compassion, that exists within the teachings of the 7 points of mind training from the tradition of Atisha Dipamkara. And this is called the post-attainment practice. What is post-attainment practice? Well, that's simply what you do outside of the formal meditation sessions, when you're not sitting on your cushion. And this is a way of strengthening or reminding one of the practice, so that our loving kindness compassion remains constant and becomes stronger and stronger. As I said before, all practice is about getting rid of clinging. And there are 3 ways to do this. The first technique is abandonment, and that's what's used in the Theravadan or Hinayana tradition. There, one lives a life of austerity and keeps strict vows, and this is to reduce the outer conditions for one to give rise to the negative mind poisons. The second technique is called transformation, and this is primarily used within the Mahayana. This is where we transform what would normally be considered as a negative mind poison into something positive. And that's the techniques that are used here in the 7 points of mind training. The third technique that is used in the Vajrayana is understanding or recognition, and that is to know or to recognize the true nature of phenomena. And based on seeing the true nature of phenomena, one loses all clinging and attachment. Here we are concerned with this technique of transformation that exists in the Mahayana. And the first part of the post-meditation practice is 3 objects, 3 poisons, and 3 roots of virtue. Now what does this mean? Well, there are 3 types of object. The first one is a pleasant object, something we like. The second type of object is an unpleasant object, something that we are averse to. And the third type of object, it's an object that is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, it's something that we are indifferent to. So the idea is that based on these 3 types of object, the 3 mind poisons arise. And so, if I see something very beautiful that I am attracted to, then I give rise to desire. Likewise, if I experience something that is unpleasant, then I give rise to aversion. For example, if I hear a horrible sound, then I am averse to that. It could make me angry. For those neutral objects, then we remain indifferent. It's a kind of blank ignorance or darkness of mind. So on the basis of these 3 objects, we give rise to the 3 mind poisons. And so just how can we transform these 3 mind poisons into the roots of virtue? Well, if I see something beautiful or attractive, let's say for example, there was a delicious chocolate cake, and then I craved having that. On the basis of giving rise to desire, my clinging increases. And on the basis of my clinging increasing, then I will suffer further unhappiness in the mundane world. And so I think to myself, may all the desire of all sentient beings throughout the universe be brought into my desire. May I take on all of the negativity of their negative mind poison, and not only that, may I solely experience the results of that desire. And likewise, those sentient beings, now being free of desire, may achieve Buddhahood and ultimate liberation. And so what we're doing is we're transforming what would be normally a negative emotion into something that is a root of virtue. What we're doing is we are retraining ourselves to turn our negative mind poisons into virtue. And this can be used for anything. It can be used for anger, it can be used for ignorance. Let's say we're having a group meditation session and I start falling asleep. Once I've recognized that I'm falling asleep, I can identify that as being ignorance. Having identified that I'm giving rise to ignorance, and then I make the wish that may all the sleepiness and dullness that all these meditators in this room are experiencing be brought into mine, so they don't have to experience that negativity. May I take on all their negative karma and the results of that. And it's the same for anger. If we give rise to anger, we can wish that we have all the anger of all sentient beings throughout the universe be brought into my anger and transformed into virtue. So by doing this, we strengthen our bodhicitta. We strengthen our wish to benefit others. And then it becomes something that's natural and uncontrived. At first, we do have to contrive it. So this second technique is, in all activities, train with sayings. Now these sayings are pith instructions that came down to us from the masters of the past. And as we go about our daily tasks, we can remind ourselves of bodhicitta by bringing these sayings to mind. The first one is from Nagarjuna. May all their wrongs mature in me, and all my good mature in them. So this is again the same notion that I take on all the negativity of others and give them everything positive that I have. And by reminding ourselves or turning this over in our mind as we go shopping, as we drive to work, etc., then we remind ourselves of bodhicitta. From the Kadampa Masters, I give all gain and victory to all the noble sentient beings. So when it says noble sentient beings here, it doesn't mean bodhisattvas and arhats. It means ordinary sentient beings, because it is taught that sentient beings are more kind to us than the Buddha. Now how is that so? It's because without sentient beings to practice with, we have no way of achieving ultimate enlightenment. We have to practice the bodhisattva path in order to become a fully enlightened Buddha. The Buddha is called the Great Bodhisattva, and in order to become a Buddha, we have to first practice with sentient beings. So if we didn't have sentient beings to practice with, we couldn't achieve enlightenment. And as Gyaltse Togme says, may all misdeeds and sufferings of sentient beings mature in me. May all my virtue and well-being mature in every sentient being. And so, using these practices as a reminder, as we go about our daily lives, we are able to strengthen our bodhicitta and be reminded in all times to apply these techniques to develop loving kindness and compassion. Now, many people think being goal-oriented is wrong, or that it's just another form of self-clinging. For example, if I practice bodhicitta only so that I may progress on the path, then that's just another form of self-concern, right? But in general, even if we're practicing with self-concern, practicing bodhicitta is not mistaken. Having love and compassion for others is a positive thing, and it's not a negative thing. And so, even though the motivation isn't very high, it is still positive and beneficial for ourselves and others. Now, what is called achieving enlightenment is known as the two types of benefit, that is self-benefit and other benefit. For the benefit of self, we achieve the Dharmakaya, the embodiment of the ultimate truth. For the benefit of others, we achieve the Rupakaya, the embodiment of the form of the Buddha. And in this way, we work for the benefit of sentient beings. You also are a sentient being, and you also need to achieve Buddhahood. I hope these talks on the generation of bodhicitta have been useful for you, and ultimately will help you to develop this loving kindness compassion that we call bodhicitta. My sincere wish is that on the basis of giving rise to this relative bodhicitta, that you may eventually come to recognize the true nature of phenomena, which is none other than ultimate bodhicitta. And so until next time, thank you very much, and see you later.